Welcome to Hardcore Entrepreneur. This is the Unity for Mobile webinar. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about how web apps in Unity work, why we choose Unity as opposed to other platforms and environments. Also a little bit about AI usage with Unity towards the end, since of course this is powered by AI. And of course we're going to build a very simple app together, just so you can see that it is very user-friendly and pretty cool to use. I'm going to share my screen and show you the presentation for today. Please let me know if you can see the slideshow. Sorry about that blabber. Let's see. Can you see my slideshow? Okay, great. So, as I said, we're talking about Unity for Mobile. And the idea for today is to introduce the concept of how Unity for Mobile works. As I said, our goals for today's webinar: building an app, AI tools, and a small summary towards the end to wrap up what we've learned today. The idea is that a lot of games are being built in Unity, be it web games or, sorry, I meant desktop games or mobile games. That is for any operating system. It doesn't matter. It's Windows, it's iOS, it's whatever. Unity can do it. It also has pretty cool tools for VR. So the idea is that it's very, very popular, with over 70% of mobile games being built in Unity. And since this is a webinar for future entrepreneurs, I think that presents quite the interest, considering how lucrative such a thing can be if it's popular. Naturally, one more thing that drives a lot of developers towards Unity is how friendly the user interface is, and you'll see that very shortly. How easily you can kind of drag and drop components, if you will, like, for instance, depending on your experience with other platforms, say in this circumstances, we're talking about mobile games. If you've ever tried building with Android Studio, you will see that even though you do have a little UI there, which you do control with an XML, it is quite harder to kind of scale, drag components, make them look a certain way as quickly as possible, and it's even harder to code scripts that link these components together. This is the main reason why Unity is very popular for all kinds of platform development. And as such, why not try to do it mobile as well? And we'll see today what that involves. Of course, the primary goals for today are building and learning, both about Unity in general. I'm talking about the learning part because I think the building one is pretty self-explanatory. So about the learning part, it's not only just about the environment and what it can do and kind of exploring stuff around. It's also about the potential in the future, what it can do with newly powered AI tools that are appearing or are being developed more and more every day, which is something that I find very interesting, and of course can be used in mobile and in any kind of environment you guys want to use it. Let's see. About the building part, which I said is pretty self-explanatory, because it is. First of all, we're interested in setting up the environment, which is something we're going to talk about. It's something that I redid today, just so I can tell you guys a more recent version of things, because if you do Google stuff, you will see a lot of deprecated versions in the videos, and it's pretty hard to follow with, oh, click that button and create a project from there when the interface changed so drastically. And if I may so joke about Unity, it is a recurring pun that it is changing quite rapidly, and the discrepancies between the UIs in between versions, say, are quite drastic. So if you do have an older version of Unity installed, I do recommend that you follow a tutorial about how to add the dependencies that you need in order to develop Android. But for now, let's assume that we're starting with a clean slate. We're setting up our environment. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Then, of course, we're going to be grasping the basics. We can also take a look at Unity in general, not just mobile, but we'll see if we have time for that in the end, because that, of course, is part of the basics, so to say. And in the end, we're going to talk about retouching and improving any kind of app, mobile app, whatever kind of app, which will also involve a little bit of mini speech about AI and stuff like that. First, the basics, how to set up Unity. This is Unity Hub. You can find it just by Googling it. Of course, you don't have to install it right now on your computers, but while I talk, if you do want to do that, in case you want to work alongside me, not necessary because this is being recorded, so you can check it out later. This is what Unity Hub looks like. Of course, in installs, once you install it, you will get a prompt, which asks you if you want to add a Unity version to your Unity Hub. You should say yes, I would say, just to make it easy. And then in installs, you can see that you have this Unity version installed. This is the version that you can see here and the path where it's been installed. On the cog icon right here, if you click, you will have a little menu with these options. What we're interested in is clicking Add Modules. Because, of course, Unity doesn't come equipped necessarily for Android, so we want to add the necessary JDKs, SDKs, and whatever else we need in order to build with Android properly. Once we click that little button, we're going to have this pop up with Add Modules for Unity. And as you can see here, they are already being ticked by default. Android build support, OpenJDK, and Android SDK and NDK tools. Now, a small piece of advice, manage your expectations because this last part, especially with the NDK tools, is going to take about 30 minutes to an hour to install, depending on your internet speed. Also, make sure that you have enough disk space, because as you can see here, I was running out. And of course, I had to reinstall it because the installation was faulty. So to take a look for that. The reason why we need this naturally is so that the app that we're building, so that the app that we're building will be compatible with an Android device. Let's see. About building an app, we have a little quote here that says that practice doesn't make perfect. Practice reduces the imperfection. And this is a funny quote, in my opinion anyway, because the idea is that we're not striving to be perfect in what we do. We're striving to learn more every day to become better at what we do. I, for instance, took on the challenge to have to kind of train in this webinar so that I could learn more about mobile for Unity, because generally that is not my go-to platform that I work with. So how about I stop this share screen for now and we go straight into Unity and check out some of the cool stuff that we can find there. Let's see if I can find it. All right. This is the demo that I've built. I hope you guys can see it. It's a simulator, essentially, for a little game or an app or whatever you want to call it. By clicking here, I am starting it up so that you can see it better. And here, of course, as you can read, we have a random number generator. The idea is we're pressing the button generate, and we're supposed to get a number, random, from, I think, 1 to 100. Were the bounds that I set for this number generation. The more we click it, the more numbers we get. It's pretty basic. I took as inspiration the default app from the default tutorial of Android Studio, because I assume that if some of you have any kind of experience with Android app development, that is the platform that you would first go to. So I wanted to give some air of, familiarity with the subject. So yeah, we can keep clicking, and it's still going to generate numbers. And my idea for today is to invite you guys to build together with me this app from scratch. Pretty basic, so you can see just how it's done. I'm going to close this, so I will assume that the share screen will stop. I will share my entire screen. I think that is wise. How about that? Yep. Let's see. And we're interested in opening Unity Hub, which is this thing. These are the games that I've recently built. Here we want to click on New Project, exactly what we were talking about earlier. And here we have a lot of templates. As you can see, we have a 2D mobile and a 3D mobile core. The cores are the templates. We're going to choose a 2D mobile because we're not interested in building a game or anything like that. We just want to build an app. Of course, we can choose 3D mobile, but I guess that would be more recommended if you want to build a 3D game like a shooter or something on mobile. For now, not at all necessary. Of course, the template is already downloaded. If it's not, here you will see download template. You just click it and it will become available. This is just an example. So we're going to call it random number generator, right? And did I misspell anything? No, I hope not. All right. So we're going to create this game, and automatically Unity is going to open for us the environment. First, even though we're not starting with a basic, so to say, 2D or 3D core, and we're starting directly with mobile, there are some things that are common, such as the interface of Unity that we're going to talk about. This, for instance, is how Unity loads the environment for you, this little prompt that you see here. And of course, it has a loading bar. Also got to be a little bit patient with it. I also hope I have enough disk space and I don't have to delete anything so that I can redo the tutorial. Although it seems like it is taking quite some time. The idea behind this is, as I said, and you will see it as much, it's very simple, very basic to set up. It's very easy, and we're also going to chat a little bit, even while it loads, about how you can link your phone to your laptops or whatever device you're coding from so that you can actually view the app that you're building on your mobile. Now that I'm looking at it, and that's a pro tip, I think it's being glitched, which is something that is going to happen with Unity. I don't think you should freak out. But at the same time, I think I will be recreating the whole project because sometimes this thing does happen. I will delete it and recreate it in the same manner in which I showed you that I created the first app, the same thing, but the first time round. If this happens to you, best thing you can do is just delete it completely. And make sure there are no artifacts left behind. This can prove problematic with Unity sometimes. The fact that it will get stuck, but it will not prompt you, telling you that it's been stuck. So it's kind of a guessing game whether or not that happened to it. And the best thing to do is to abort. Oops, I hit this. Is to abort, delete everything, and just start from scratch. Number generator. Yeah, we should create this much more easily now, and I will let you know how that goes for us. I hope you can see my screen. I actually, it might have been because of the PPT, but I'm not sure, so I just shut it all together. So we've got here the actual simulator. This is Unity and what it looks like for mobile. Normally, we start here in a scene. This is just to talk a little bit about the layout of an app like this and of the entire environment. This is the inspector, and here you will see stuff about the app that you're trying to build. The object that you're trying to build into your app. For instance, you can see its textures, you can link scripts to it, and so on, so that it can do something in the future. This is, there isn't much to configure here. As you can see, we have 2D set here. It seems pretty much okay. The only thing that I advise you to do in the simulator so that this looks okay is instead of selecting game, which would actually paste for you a huge blue screen, it can be whatever color you wish, but in this case, it's a kind of blue. You should select simulator so that it looks like an actual phone, not a blue landscape oriented background. Here you can use you can choose a sort of virtual machine display, virtual display. Depends whether you wish to develop for Apple, for iOS, for Android. You can just choose whatever. I chose the S10e because that is the most basic kind of phone shape. You can also download more. You can install additional devices. I don't think that is necessary because the ratios are kind of samey. Here I also checked, you can check play focused, play unfocused, or play maximized. What happens when you play maximized is that it makes this little screen bigger, which is something that I like us to see. I will hit play. I will. Really? Wait a minute. All right, now it works. I had a little header from Teams glitching the button. And this is what you see if you hit play. So this is what your app looks like right now. This is a blank space, pun not intended, in which you can actually add your components. Here, of course, you have the main camera, which exists in every single app, and it should be orthographic as opposed to perspective, because we're for this purpose, it should be orthographic. That is pretty much everything we need to check for the camera. Also, the reason you're seeing blue is because the background of the camera object is a shade of blue. Just to tweak a little bit around it, you can change it to any color you want, say, I don't know, pink or green. Sorry, this is the inspector that we were talking about. Here you can see a lot of things. I'd rather not do these tests on the camera, but I will introduce you to what the UI looks like. Here you can see the position of the camera, the rotation of the camera, and the scale of the camera, which are the three main ways in which you can alter the shape, position, and similar physical attributes of an object in a Unity scene. That's pretty much everything that interests us with respect to a camera. Now, in order to add a new component, because we don't really want to see this into the screen, we want to actually have a background, which we call a panel, onto which we, or a canvas, I guess is more accurate. We right-click into the Explorer. This is the Object Explorer, and we choose from UI, the last little, it's not a drop-down menu, but, you know, option. We can choose a lot of things here. You can see a lot of familiar names like text, I don't know, input field, button, drop-down. These are things, canvas, these are things that kind of resemble web programming. And for whoever is a high school student here, I know this is studied at some point, I think in the 11th grade or something, I'm not sure. So if these look familiar, that's great. They're going to be a great deal of help. We can click the panel. And now this is going to look very weird because the panel just got slapped out of nowhere into the screen, but it looks nothing like we need it to look. So we're going to click on canvas, and what we're going to do is going to see why exactly it's being pasted here of all places instead of just making it look like a normal screen. It's okay to have the screen space overlay, I think, and we need, instead of constant pixel size, to choose scale with screen size. Also, by the way, if you want, you can just zoom out and pretend. Give me 1 second, because this is actually, I guess, a little bit better. Or if you just zoom out and do this instead of just trying to, because we were viewing from a very small point. You just, this is, they have hotkeys, which we're going to talk about in a second. This is the way we move around here. What we're going to do in the canvas, what I was trying to make sure is that we have the screen space, which is being rendered, which you can see here because we have the screen space. We need to scale with screen size. And here, so that we avoid any kind of blur or with weird things, I think best is to say around the middle, like 0.5. I think that's kind of okay. Now, if we hit play, we should have a blank kind of space, which for some reason does not display, which I'm going to check in a second. Is there a reason why this doesn't happen? Oh, it's because of the camera, because I played around with the camera. Give me a second. We're going to... We tweaked with the color. We were supposed to, yeah, we can say don't clear. I think that's okay. Right, so that we can see an actual color here. Here you can change the color of the panel. This is the actual color of the background of your app. I chose a light blue. It's not the best, like, don't expect to have like the best kind of interface. The idea, it's very user-friendly. So we can choose a color that doesn't make us want to, I don't know, throw up when we look at it, like a very light shade of green or something that we can work with. Let's see if this looks okay. All right, we have a greenish kind of screen. Okay, I'm going to, what I did here, you can see the transparency. You have a color wheel. For whomever's not like familiar with how this works, is an RGB system, red, green, blue, and alpha, which is the level of transparency. I fixed the transparency, which is kind of around here because I could see the grid a little too clearly behind it, and we shouldn't really work with transparent backgrounds or stuff like that unless we have something behind it that we want to show. All right. So the simulator keeps showing us the little green screen. That's okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to start messing around with like the basic elements, the way in which we want it to look and so on. What I did for my previous app, the one that I showed you in the very beginning, is put a little title to it. Of course, now we can do about pretty much anything for this app. So we can stick to the model of adding a little title because that is a very basic text field that we can alter. Now, inside the canvas, because we are working, I should explain a little bit about something in here. This works a lot with a principle called inheritance. Inheritance, as in the real life, pretty much talks about or implies that objects are similar in behavior and many other attributes to their parents. In this case, for instance, as you can see, panel is a child, is what we call it, of canvas, and as such, it moves around with the canvas. If I decide to delete the canvas, the panel will be deleted. If I decide to move the canvas around, the panel will move around as well. So we are interested in putting our UI elements, UI means user interface elements, inside the canvas, of course, because that is what emulates, so to say, our screen. So we're going to go into UI and add a text. Also, a little thing, pay attention that it is a text mesh pro kind of object. It will be important when we try to modify it in any way. It is not a simple text object, it is a text mesh pro object, a TMP. Now, this TMP, for now, we can't see much, I think. So let me zoom in and take a look. If we write something in here, which is the text input, I don't believe that we can see it. I'm wondering if maybe, oh, why is the font size that size? It was -99. Let's see, we can see it now? No, is it? This is very weird. I don't understand what is going on. Come on. UI, let's try again. Oh, we're not importing. I'm so sorry. I simply ignored the prompt for some reason. I was too focused in trying to make it look like something. The idea is that if it asks us to import something, much like it asked me, don't do what I did, don't ignore it. We do need to import TMP essentials, which is something that you have to do every project. I forgot, obviously, thinking that somehow they still counted from the last project I did. No, of course, we have to import it every time. Once we import it, you can actually shut the pop-up. Now, we're into the inspector here, which is telling us what we can do with our newly pasted object. Something that draws our attention is a text input field, kind of. Here we can write pretty much anything. I'll write anything. If we click anywhere, on the screen we can see here. I wrote anything in the middle of the screen. Our goal here is to drag it upward and try to make it look like the title. So what we're going to do is into the Object Explorer, we're going to, it's called a hierarchy. We're going to click the text object. The inspector will pop up once again with the attributes of the object, and we're going to choose a title. So let's think about a kind of app that we want to build, kind of similar to what I built last time. We can think about still a random number generator, or so that we can see that it dynamically changes. We can make another random number generator, just like we pasted in the title. I was hoping maybe we could do something more funky, but I think it's the simplest way to showcase how exactly the app will work. So we can call it a random number generator. And here you can see it looks kind of funky because it makes you kind of, I'll zoom in just so you can see, it puts them on different rows, not something we want necessarily. We can just scroll down. This is the font size, which we don't necessarily want to change. This is the font. What we're interested in is if we wanted to stay like this on 3 different rows, but we don't want it to be justified or aligned to the left, we can just middle align it, much like an Excel program. Of course, if we don't want it to jump on the next row, this comes in the wrapping section. Here, we can just disable the wrapping and we will have a long string of words. We can do however we think is cute. I think we can enable the wrapping, and here we have a lot of kinds of wrapping. You can read about them online. The ellipsis, for instance, puts some dots for where the word is continued. No, this is not. The truncate is interesting because it just cuts off the word. Not interested. We're going to keep the overflow thing. And in order to make it more visible, we're going to choose from vertex color here what color we want our text to be. We can use a, I want to say darker shade of green, but I'm not sure that's the best idea considering visibility. Black, I think, is fine because we are working, or very dark green because we are working with a very light screen, and contrast is kind of good in these circumstances. Also, something you can play around with, we can apply some bold, we can underline, we can do italic writing, we can strike it, pretty much do anything that you can do in Word. And here are the fonts. We wait for a second to load. Come on. These are the only 2 fonts. This is weird because normally it should have more fonts default. There must be something that went wrong with the loading of assets. Doesn't really matter. You can also import more fonts. Actually, they're not impressive necessarily, the ones that they have. What we're interested in is trying to drag this towards the top of the screen. So how we can do that? There are 2 ways. There's a very simple way and the more complicated way. And I think I'm going to approach the little more complicated way just because I think it's fun. Here you have 3 positions, X, Y, and Z. And these are the positions of your text box. Now, Z, as you can see, if I move it to 5, nothing happens. If I make it 50, nothing happens. And there is a solid reason why that's the case. It's because we're doing a 2D app. So nothing on the Z-axis is going to happen. Now, if we change the X position, you see it's being highlighted, just as the Y position is being highlighted. In this kind of development, it is a little counterintuitive, the fact that you will see that the X position is the vertical one and the Y position is the horizontal one, weirdly enough. So what we're going to do is going to drag this up by, I don't know, we're going to test things. Considering our width is, width is 200 and we're in position 0, somewhere along 50, I think. Sorry. The X's are, as I said, counterintuitive, and then I fell into the same issue. We can do a 50, we can do 500 is way outside the bounds. 200, as you can see, is the maximum stated here. That is from the center. I think we can go somewhere around, oh, no. 3, or even 400 in order to place a title. This is the complicated way of doing it. We just click someplace else, it's being set. Now, I will click 0 here to put it back in place, and we're going to check the very simple way to do it. Now, I'm going to zoom in so you can see better. The idea is, as you can see here, we have some options. This is you get a little hand here that's being highlighted by which you can move the screen by pressing Q. And here you just click, left click, you move around the screen. If you press W, all of a sudden the interface changes a little bit and we have the second button highlighted. What is happening is that we can translate, aka move this object freely by dragging these axes, the X and Y axis. What you see here is an incomplete system from the perspective of the majority of development, say, because you cannot see the third axis. Not a problem in this case. I think you get the hang of it. I think we can pretty much allow me to change a little bit. We can pretty much drag it towards the top. An issue with that, it's very easy to move. An issue with that is that it will not be centered. For instance, you see I'm on a 6th position of X, which is not centered. 325 is fine. 350 is also fine. That's okay. It doesn't really matter if you don't want it centered, but it's tricky if you just drag and drop. We're going to test some more tools for a second. So Q is a little hand. Allow me to re-click this. W is the translate. E is the rotation. Interestingly enough, you can actually move the text like this if you want. It's a little funky, but as you can see, it also mirrors it this way and this way. Even though we don't necessarily in the game have 3 axes, we can see it like this. And of course, it doesn't look great, but it's something you can do to objects. And if we do have time, as I said, we can explore this in a 3D environment. How we're fixing this, because we're not necessarily a fan of the rotation thing, we just set these rotation parameters back to 0. It was just a proof that we can do it. What we can also do would be press the R key, which is the scale. We can see here that it's scaled by 1. A small thing that we should mention here, how scaling works is as if you're multiplying every parameter on every axis of this object. So of course it has to be larger than 0. So if you're trying to make something smaller, we are not scaling it by -1 or -2 or whatever. We're scaling it by 0.5 to make it half and so on. In this case, this won't work exactly, simply because it's an object and it will make it look very unnatural. What we could aim to do here is to actually play with the font. But the idea is if you pull the sides, it's going to look like that. We're going to give that up and stick to the 1 because it was just a proof of how it can work, not necessarily. You don't have to use every single one of these transforms. You can just stick to the basics to make it look okay. This is just the title of the app. What we're interested in next, I'm going to zoom out so you can see the full screen. This is what we're supposed to see in the simulator. This is what our app will look like in the end. What we're interested in placing here would be another text box and a button. Why? Well, we want to display a number on the screen that is being randomly generated. How we can do that is by adding a component into our scene that can take as much as this one. How do I explain this? I want to say a text input, but I want to stress that that can imply a number considering we do the proper casting. So we need something that can take this kind of input. One of them would be the text input. Another one would be the input field, which of course has some text that we can write into here, which can act as placeholder text, but we're not necessarily interested in using an input field having a text area inside of it, such as enter text, or this is a placeholder text, or anything of the sort. my opinion, I think we could, but that is not it works the exact same. In order to get rid of something that we're decided we no longer want, we don't just grab it and drag it to the side outside of the screen. We can right click it and find the delete button. Now onto the canvas, we will right click on the canvas in order to add still inside it, still as a child, the component we were talking about, which is a text. It doesn't really matter what we write here. We can write, I don't know, number. We can play around and we can leave it to white, I believe. We can check in the simulator. It's visible, so we can leave it to white just to prove that we can do that. We can also make it bold so that it shows better. We can also center it. And we can also change the font to something like 50 or 70. This, of course, is very big with proper scaling. That's not. We're disabling this if we don't want it to overflow. I think the position is pretty much okay. It should be in 0, 0, 0. That's centered. Good to go. I think we're fine. This won't read number forever. This will read number as a first thing that we want to display here. The next thing that we're interested in is adding a button. This, luckily, of course, being the very friendly user interface that it is, Unity just gives us a button element, still from this Text Mesh Pro library. We can see I just started dragging it down because I didn't want it on top of my writing, and we can leave it there. And what it says at the moment is button. Now, say we don't like the shape. Let's just assume we don't like the shape. We can click it from here and choose with R to scale it. I think we should want it to look a little wider here and like taller and wider to match the aesthetic of the whole thing. And we also probably don't really want it. Let's select back the little moving hand. We also probably want to change that it says button. The problem is if we scroll around here, we have the color of the button and make it pretty much anything, like any shade of green, like this. But the text of the button is nowhere to be found around this Explorer. So, of course, we need to think a little bit, where could we possibly find it? We take a look into the hierarchy and see that it has a little arrow here. Upon clicking this little arrow, you can expand the object that you are looking at in the that you're operating with, so to say. So here, if we expand, we see that we have a text object as a child of the button object, which means that, as you can see, if I move the button around, which I just did and I can keep doing, the text button doesn't go anywhere. Now, if I remove the text and put it in Canvas, and I decide to move the button around, button sticks, the writing sticks to its previous place. We're going to Control Z real quickly to undo the horror that we've just generated to prove a point. And inside the text object here, which functions just as much as any other text we already have on the screen, you can see here that we have the word button. If we write anything, yet again, it will say anything. Probably a word that you want to give to it, like a name, is something very basic that the user will understand, that the user will know just intuitively what the button is going to do. So if we have a random number generator, and we already have the number on the screen, we can either call it generate or randomize, just to make it more intuitive. We can say randomize, just so we escape the generate that I wrote in the last app that I just showed you. We're trying to make it a little different. Okay, so now if we take a look into the simulator, we can actually run it and I will cross my fingers and pray that it's not going to shut on me. We click randomize. Nothing happens. Of course, that is not what I was hoping for. We're pretending that that's not what we're hoping for, because as of now, we're just doing the basics. I want this word here, number, to change into an actual randomized number. So how can I do that? I'm clicking it, nothing happens. Well, first of all, we need to ask ourselves, just in general, if something in programming doesn't work, did I do something to make it work? Because default, it probably won't. And we know that, I don't know, we check the button, we check the text, there is nothing to indicate that it has anything to do with a number on top of it. That's where scripts come in. A little info beforehand on scripts is that they're written in C# in Unity. C# is a kind of Java, even if it's called C. It's the proper OOP of the C language. Better for this, I would say, than C++, which is the first OP language derived from C. OP means object-oriented. I mean, it's an OO language, not an OP. OP stands for object-oriented programming. And the reason this is crucial here is because we absolutely need an object-oriented programming language in order to write these instructions and write these scripts, because as you can see, we have objects in here of types. A text object, a button object. We need an object language in order to be able to manipulate this properly. I did bring up C++ because knowing that you are high school students, you are probably studying C++. You've probably heard of Java as well. The very popular coffee icon, little loading screen that pops up before you load up an old game. It's the language in which Minecraft was written, so I'm guessing you maybe heard of this language. This is the language that inspired, so to say, like the aesthetic of C#. So it's very similar. For those of you who maybe know some of it, it's going to be very easy to code in C#. So back to our scripts in C#. What we are going to do here is that we're going to look in assets here in the left-hand side, lower left corner of our screen. In assets, we can see a lot of texts, infos, kind of folders. They just come naturally with the project creation. Well, neither can we see, nowhere around here can we see scripts. So of course, it's something that we need to create. And we do that by right-clicking, as in any other explorer, because this is essentially an explorer. And we're going to create a folder, I would recommend, so that we can find them more easily, called scripts. Inside the scripts folder, now this is where we are creating where the magic happens, so to say. We're interested in creating a script for the button for a random number generation. So right-click it again and create a C# script. This is what it looks like, the sharp as in hashtag, not as in the actual sharp word. And we're going to call it something that will help me change the number name into an actual number. We're going to call it randomized script or something. Normally, you should call it like randomized button script, or something that lets you know to what it should be linked. So maybe we call it randomized button script. You don't need to write the extension as in .cs. It will be added automatically. And here you will have a little preview of what this looks like, in which no point trying to write because you cannot. You can write in this in several environments. Why don't you? Of course. Okay, it just loaded. What I will use I will be using Visual Studio, not code, just Visual Studio, this guy down here. We can link it to automatically open with Visual Studio or with anything else. Pretty much, I think that would be the default that you open it with. It doesn't really matter. As long as you can write C#, it doesn't really matter. You just need an environment that supports whatever kind of coding you want to write so that it makes your job easier. So I'm going to double click on this, which will automatically open it for me with Visual Studio because that's what I have configured in the past. And you're about to see your very first, hopefully, C# script here. This is what it looks like. You can see here we are importing or using, as in a namespace, a lot of libraries that namespaces, namely that help us code without a lot of calling these namespaces in the middle of the code. So this is pretty much what we need. This is the very most basic script. This is just what you start with in general if you load a C# script from your Unity project. Now you can see here, this might look unfamiliar, so I'm going to take a moment to kind of explain what this looks like. You can see here public class randomize button script. That's our name. You can see it here, mono behavior. This is a base class, as you can see, that many Unity scripts derive from. This little sign means inheritance. It means that randomize button script, our script, is a child of mono behavior, which we need in order to be able to not faultily run this script, for it to work as intended, for it to be able to link to be able to be linked to whatever we want to link it. This is basically, in order to explain inheritance in very, very easy terms, like a bigger class that has more attributes than our little class here, that we want to kind of copy. We kind of want to be able to behave like it. So we just call it around here, much like we call a namespace. We call it after our class so that we can kind of mimic its behavior when needed. So that's what it goes. You can see here that the name is class. We have a class. Before class, you can see that we have a privacy. I'm having a little moment where I actually do not remember because it's not annotation. Sorry, help me. Yes. I heard something and I wanted to.
Yes, sorry. I don't know if it's just for me, but I can see the Visual Studio screen.
Oh, you can't? Oh, so sorry. Okay, just tell me next time. It's highly possible. Let's share the entire screen so that this doesn't happen again. I was sharing Unity most probably. All right, now you can see, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, great. Okay, no, thanks for letting me know because I didn't realize I was still in the Unity editor. So, assuming you heard what I said, you can see here where we have the namespaces. Here, it's the class. And here is that class that I was saying we were trying to mimic by adding to our, it's not two dots, but I don't know the name of this sign. And we're trying to mimic its behaviors. So we're calling it here, much like a namespace, but for our class. It's called inheritance. This is the parent class that we want to copy. A class can contain attributes, can contain methods. It will contain both in what follows. And the reason we make it public is because we want it accessible from everywhere inside our project. There are three types of there's a word for this that I was talking about that just slips me. It's about how private it is. There's three. There's private, there's protected, and there's public. If we have something being private, we can only access it within our class. So if I make this class private, it kind of defeats the purpose, considering nobody can access it but itself, which we don't want at the moment. If I make it protected, everyone inside its folder will be able, inside its project, not folder, inside its project will be able to see it. And if I make it public, everyone everywhere can access it. Oops, okay. So you can see here there's two methods, start and update. These are methods that we don't need for Android app development. For regular Unity development, we do need them. What they do is that there's two different things, and you can see here the comment. Start is called before the first frame update. So if at the beginning of our game, we want to call upon, I don't know, an object popping up, like a prompt or whatever, we're going to call it to appear here, then shut it when appropriate, and it will never appear again in this instance of playing the game, because it only appears before the first frame update. Whatever we call into our update method, we want to happen every single frame. This is called once per frame. This is the reason why everything that we want to be happening inside our game, not inside our app in particular, because our app is very basic and it doesn't work like this, but good to know, we want to call everything that we wish to apply as a change inside our game or whatever app we're building with Unity inside the update function, so that at each frame refresh, our app understands the changes it needs to make. For now, we're just going to delete this, sadly, after I just presented them, because there is no point, essentially, in keeping them if they're useless. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a method that is able to change our number text into a number. And in order to do that, we need to think a little bit. So how do we access our text field? So considering I share my screen instead of just Unity, we're going to take a look. We're inside a script that we will link to this button. We need to get to this number. How do we do that? We give it an attribute that calls on a kind of, as you can see here, text TMP object. So we're going to call it, it's not a text file, so give me 1 second actually, because this is going to be my actual screen, so that I can I can see. Can you still see the screen? I hope you can.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I don't know what I want to check here because TMP is a little weird. So we're going to call it, first of all, I missed the thing, we want to call it we want to call it public, because if we call it public, it's very easy access, no problem, there's no need to call it with getters, setters, or anything complicated. So we're going to call it public. The type, now, of course, it is a type, much like we would say int, a equals 0, or whatever. This is a kind of declaration. Normally inside of a class, we make things private, because that's how we want things to be. It's good practice, but in this particular case, we're going to make it public. So much like A has the type int, we need to have a type, let me recall, TMP something row dot text mesh, I'm sorry about this, GUI, no, mesh pro GUI, I think. And we're going to call it text or whatever. This we need to import here like this using TM Pro. Type does not exist. What do you mean it does not exist? I think it's UGUI actually. I think I have a typo. Wait, I'm with caps lock on. Yeah, okay. This is complicated. This is a new kind of thing. It used to be just text, just basic text. Public text, just super basic, but it's not. So I need my little reminder of how I actually made this work, because it used to give a lot of errors. So we get this going. We got this text. We can even call it number if you want. It doesn't really matter. We can call it number just so, I don't know, we know that we're trying to change the number. So this is inside the class, our first attribute. In time, we will learn how to link our number text to this. Next thing we need to do is public, a public method. It will be a public void randomize number, like this. This is how we write a method. Void means, of course, you probably know it, it doesn't return anything. And here, the rules say that we write methods with capital letters. Good practice. In general, we make it public, just as much as we made this public, for the exact same reasons. And we're going to say an int, random number will receive random dot range, whatever we want. Let's think, from 1 to 200, say. So we're going to say 1, 201, because this is how it works. And it guessed what I want to do. This is why Visual Studio is pretty good. If I press tab, I accept this change. What we want to do is to I'm sorry, I heard a noise and I want to make sure that there's no one interrupting me. That's why I stopped. So we want to change the text of the text field into our new number. So what we're going to do, I'm going to type this by hand just so you can check with me. Number, which is the name of our text. Dot text, it is a property of our text field, the text that it has, because essentially this, and you can tell by the type, is an object. It has several properties. One of them is its content, which is the text. We'll receive the random number. And now, toString method. This is a very well-known method in this kinds of languages because I mean, no, parsing is common everywhere, but toString has its appears in Java as well, and has generally the idea that it tries to convert, of course, into a string, whatever other kind of data type it finds. In our case, we want to turn it into a string simply because our text field, naturally having a text attribute that we're trying to replace, has to receive a string, whereas we are providing it with an integer. So not an integer object, an int type of integer. So we are going to convert it to a string so that it can simply take the newly generated number and display it in place of the text field. I think that's quite, I mean, if it's anything unclear, please do know that I'm waiting questions at any moment. Like I'm accepting questions. Like I don't, I talk slowly just so you can tag along and ask me if there's anything that's unclear. This is pretty much where we end, like where this part of the code stops. So we're going to hit save, which you can see here by a green bar, familiar, I would say, to most IDs. We have the script and we hop back into Unity. Right. Hopping back into Unity, we have the script here. As you can see, it's been updated with what we just wrote into it. So how exactly do we do this? Well, we're going to click the button first, like in the hierarchy. And we're going to scroll down and check if there's anything reminiscent of the word script.
I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, sure.
We
no.
can...
Really? I'm
yes,
so sorry.
The visual
I thought I was sharing the screen. Okay. Let's share the full screen so that this does not happen again. Thanks for letting me know. Okay. I apparently have a very bad habit of clicking window instead of screen every time. All right, so back at it, we check the button. I hope I didn't change anything because I just misclicked. Nope, I didn't. Okay, we have what we talked about, the color, some, and some things here that we don't do anything with yet. Now, first, what we notice here is that the last thing is an on-click. I don't know if you know what on-click events are. They're very common in any kind of visual application, be it web or mobile. It means that upon clicking a button, pretty much as the function says, some event is supposed to get triggered. Something is supposed to happen. As you can see here, nothing is yet supposed to happen, even though we have the script. So how do we put the script into the on-click? Well, first of all, it needs to be part of the component of the whole button thing, that is. So we're going to just say add component, scripts. This is the long way to do it, scripts. And we have it here. We can click it. Alternatively, I didn't click it on purpose. We can just drag it here. If we drag it here, as you can see, it just pops. It's the same. That's why, to me, Unity, I think it's very user-friendly. It's very drag and droppy. It's very fun to use. Like I can select it or I can drag and it doesn't really matter. So you can drag and drop pretty much anything around here. Minus the code, which you have to write, of course. But yeah, pretty cool. So what do we notice about the script? We have something called number. If we pop back here, number is this guy, which we are sending, to which we are sending the random number. And if we pop back into the editor, it says that nobody is the text field. It tells me that it should be a Text Mesh Pro UGUI, but it doesn't find any object. So now's the time to tell it that we want to change this thing. I will go on a limb and assume it's this one. Yeah, so we know it's this one. So we hop back into button and we click here, we select it, and we drag this all the way here. As you can see, it doesn't let me put it anywhere else but here. And the reason it lets me put it here, I learned this the hard way testing this, because I used to try to do this with a simple text object as opposed to a Text Mesh Pro UGUI. If it does not let you drop it here, you have a wrong type here. You are trying to put a button or something else into a text mesh, whatever kind of object. So in case it refuses your object, it means there's something wrong with your data types. So I'm going to drop it here, much as I said, which is the numbered text. You can see it here. And now still nothing on the on click. Well, we need to hit the plus. And we have no object. The plus is supposed to, like, of course, add what's going to happen. You can see a lot of things, runtime, whatever, doesn't matter. You can click editor and runtime. We can click runtime because we're going to run it anyway. We have no object here. So we're going to grab this script, which we already configured to have this text field in it, into this empty space. Okay, now we have the script. Great. What seems to be the problem? We have no function. And if you want that point being proven, I guess, we can click run, just so you can see. Even though we declared pretty much everything, nothing happens. The reason nothing happens is I did give a little bit of a wait for it to calm down. Okay. The reason I gave, I mean, I did give a little bit of a spoiler, but I think you pretty much got the idea, is that we don't have a function here. So nothing is supposed to happen. It knows that it should take its information from this script, but it doesn't really know what part of the script. So inside the randomize button script, which is usually loaded last in this dropdown, we should find our randomize number function. If you don't remember, this is your code. This is the function we wrote. It's called randomize number. Just in case you forget and you don't know what to select from randomize button script, randomize number. Okay. This, fingers crossed, I hope I'm not forgetting anything, should function. It should be fine. Yay, it changed. And it keeps changing into numbers, anywhere ranging from 1 to 200. And the more you click it, the more things happen. Pretty fun, I would say. This is the app that I showed you in the beginning, with a little bit of a technical hiccup, which I am still not sure why it happened, but I did receive intel that it might be because of the PowerPoint, which right now I'm mortified to open back because I don't want to ruin it again. But we do have to present the rest of the PowerPoint, like just chat a little bit about some AI and stuff. You just click it, never stops. What we can add here as an info is how to make it actually run on your phone. It's very, very basic. You just need to have developer mode activated on your phone. Very simple. Then you have to plug in your phone to your computer. You have to download from whatever app store or whatever you're using, or Google Store, or no, Google Play it's called, or whatever. You can download Unity Remote. Then, of course, there's some things that you can check for to see if your phone is being connected or not. Right now, I have a lot of devices plugged into my laptop, including camera and microphone and everything, and I can't really show you. But a great way to see if you have anything plugged in that is eligible for mirroring a real-life device, you can just say ABD device or device. No, sorry. What am I doing wrong? No. Let me Google it actually. ABD devices. I said ABD, sorry. ADB devices. Okay, This is the list of, it was my typo, I wrote ABD. It's a list of devices attached, and I have none. You also probably, if you just write this command here in the command prompt, you will have none. High likelihood. A good like indicator that your phone is being connected is that it will say some gibberish name of your phone, and then it will say authorized or unauthorized, which you should also pay attention to see if you're being authorized to debug and run your new app on your phone. This is, of course, optional. You can play around with it. It's pretty basic. It doesn't bring anything extra other than what we can see right here, like this emulator that is pretty much the phone, I guess, or any phone, older phone, but whatever. So yeah, you will see the same thing on your phone. I just tested it before hopping into this meeting. I would say solid. Now, if you have any questions, if anyone thinks I didn't cover something, please, I actually encourage you to have a chat because this is the last part of what we're doing in Unity. Or if you want to suggest some changes to the app or whatever, if you want to ask me to try something, like put something on the screen, I don't know. I'm gonna assume not, just because no one's saying anything. But if you do change your mind, let me know. I won't shut this just so that yeah. Yes, sure.
How do you deal with different screen ratios of the phones? Because I saw that the axes were in points, not in
pixels,
not relatives.
Okay, let me see if we're talking about the same thing. So if we have this button, we're talking here.
Yeah, that's that. These are absolute values.
Yes, but it doesn't.
To the.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because, as I said, I'll show you in a second. The canvas here scales with the screen size. This is the reference resolution that we're using, which is the absolute, like you were saying, is just the points. It's not exactly like the pixels that we're in. But considering that we selected here in our canvas that we want to scale with screen size, also what you're saying would be like a great concern and like an actual good concern if you had constant pixel size, because it looks stupid like this. So yeah, you don't want an app that looks like that, which happens exactly if we do not scale. So if we hit here in the canvas, in the inspector panel, scale with screen size, doesn't matter. My positions are just relative to whatever coordinates and sizes I have of my viewport, which is 800 by 600, and it will just place normally on the screen. Was that the question, or?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So yeah, take a look at this so that this is, I guess, where it can go wrong, because scale with screen size is not the default option. I'm not sure if mine was at the default option because I worked like on an app before, but normally it goes on constant pixel size, which is an issue. So always like scale with screen size, match width or height, set 0.5 here to make it more realistic, because if we leave it at 0, it's a little funky. See? 0.5 is always a good middle ground to make it look okay. And that is, and make sure the camera is orthographic. That's the only concerns that I would be like, the only thing that I'd be concerned that you could actually end up in the environment and not know why your app is not looking okay. Yeah. Anything else like about app creation, Unity, stuff like that we're doing right now? Okay, so I'll guess that was the last one. If not, I'll leave the editor open. Feel free to just ask any question if it just comes to mind, even if I'm presenting something else. Just so it's more important that you set some stuff clear before this webinar ends. Okay, So what to do is to open my PowerPoint and pray, literally, that this does not do that same thing again. I'm not sure if I should make it full screen, but you know what? I'll make it full screen because we got like 30 minutes left, so no harm done if something bad happens again. I guess I like living it dangerous. We've done that, we've done this. Okay, now we're talking AI tools in Unity. Here, this is from the Unity, this is the link that, this is an actual screenshot from, actually, maybe, let's do a little, let's chat a little bit about AI tools in general before we actually talk about them in Unity. I'm all too eager to talk about them in Unity. I don't know how many of you are using AI tools as of now, or if you're probably using, I mean, if you're using ChatGPT, you are using an AI tool, of a language model kind of AI tool, which is very popular and very useful. Ever since it appeared, I think you guys can agree that it's been kind of impossible to live without it. Like the first question you have in programming, at least for us, if you don't know it or you don't know, like you can find an easier answer on some website or on some other thing, the first place you go is chat, because it is very well made to, if you express your problem well, it will know what to tell you. And this is like the reason, another reason, this is like a proof that AI is becoming more and more useful in helping us. We use it a great deal today for to ask for help for the most basic tasks. Of course, it doesn't do our job for us, so that's not really an option. You can't just do something. If you don't know anything about something, you can't exactly have ChatGPT make it for you, because contrary to I mean, even though it looks to be like very smart, you have to know how to ask your questions. And this being a tool, exactly like the name suggests, this has been proven very beneficial to improving productivity, because a lot of time we no longer have to waste our time writing bits of code that are very verbose and not very useful, or that we know exactly how it's supposed to be, but maybe we're pressed by time and we don't want to be writing like a lot of code for no reason. We can just ask chat to like write us a function of whatever. So AI tools are definitely the thing today, I guess. And of course, being about as this competition is being it's being like powered by like AI stuff. And since we're talking about Unity, we should talk about AI tools in Unity, which are getting really, really interesting as of late. This is exactly from like the assetstore.unity.com. The asset store is what we looked at with the little trees and stuff that we were seeing that I searched for, the free 3D resources, and we have AI in action. And the idea is like, if you go to this website, like to this link, which I put here specifically so that you could check out more, because I think it's absolutely really interesting. These Unity games use AI solutions. And the word solutions here is the key word. Because right now what AI represents in both game development, app development, any kind of development, including research development, is that it brings solutions that the human mind would take a long, long time to generate. And this is exactly what we're doing right here. For instance, for Zebra, by applying AI for 3D geometry, the Zebra AI brings high-quality visual effects to low-end PCs and even mobile devices, including these immersive experiences in Echoes of Summer. That's a game. Okay, so exactly as I said before, what AI does in this case, it brings high-quality visual effects to bad low-end devices, which is, I would say, great, because now you no longer have to think about whether or not you can play, I don't know, I'm not going to say Elden Ring, but I think you get the point. Like, this makes things more accessible with less financial resources to pour into the devices needed to for you to actually have a game that looks good. For instance, layer AI, which you can see, so this is for zebra, this is for layer AI, the middle image. And bunch is the game. So layer AI helps the bunch developers and others quickly generate a large variety of unique assets and avatars. If anyone has DALL-E from ChatGPT, which is like the premium, if you pay for it, you have DALL-E, which is the image generation, text to image generation from ChatGPT. It's amazing. It shows, you can tell that a real person didn't draw that thing or whatever if you look hard enough. But the thing is, you can generate art very quickly. And that is not to say that it will replace the artist. It is to say that if you need original art for like an indie project that you're making, and maybe you're not really good with like Blender or whatever it is you're trying to use, you can use Layer AI to generate a large variety of unique assets and avatars. Of course, not for free, but you get it. And all of a sudden you don't have to rummage around for free assets that probably don't match your aesthetic and stuff like that. It's really, really good if you want to have a cohesive look for an indie game, or even for a bigger like game development team. It saves a lot of time. And then we have in-world AI. The idea is that this is the leading character engine for powering AI NPCs in gaming, entertainment, and interactive experiences, including riveting gameplay within vaudeville. So the idea is AI NPCs in gaming are, I would say, the best thing for immersion. And what in-world AI is doing, the NPCs, I think, you know, this word stands for non-playable character. If you have an AI NPC, of course, it will act a great deal smarter than a regular NPC, altogether just making the experience more immersive and just overall better. So about Unity, this is just a bunch of stuff that you can use with Unity. Further on, we have Muse, and I left this like on its own slide. Here again, you have like on unity.com/AI. Here is the path to knowledge, if you will, how you can learn more about how Unity implements AI. The idea of Muse is that it basically enables a developer, a creator, anyone, just anyone, to develop a game and real-time 3D experiences with text-based prompts. I think everyone saw those TikToks or whatever, where they say, I don't know, draw me, like, not the DALL-E, like something super complicated, like even Photoshop, that you have a picture of a girl, say, on the beach, and there's some, I don't know, something really weird in the background, like an ugly building, and it's just, I don't know, remove the building. That's a text prompt, and it generates perfectly, seamlessly the rest of the background. Maybe it's even like, I don't know, extends the landscape, and it all of a sudden it makes this coastal look, and it's very complex, and the picture was never taken like that, and an artist would have taken ages to do it, and all of a sudden you have it like at one sentence away. So this is what Muse essentially does. You build living real-time 3D worlds on all Unity-supported devices, just text-based, like using text-based prompts, of course, like, which in my opinion is like the most amazing kind of AI, where you just write something, because us humans, we're really good with words and we can express what we want to see. It's oftentimes that it's harder for us to create them, and all of a sudden we have these engines and this monolithic, not in the sense of programming, as in the sense of grand tools that help us create what we need with much less effort, and probably kind of better than we could a lot of the times. So I will go into the summary for now. I'll actually check the time. I am very scared too. Okay. Right now we have some more time left. We have about 20 minutes that I don't know if we're gonna consume fully or not, like with this conversation, but we can take a look at some stuff if you want. We can. I was hoping we would have time to either check some assets, but considering the glitch we just had with Unity, I don't know how good an idea it is to try to create another project and shove 3D models into it. But I think we could definitely take a look on Unity about Muse. here, which is the things that I linked in our PowerPoint. If we can take a moment to admire the front end of the site, that I think is really nice. The idea is that, I mean, it wants me to get started and stuff, but we're not going to buy we're not going to buy Muse. Let's see here. No, I don't want that. I was hoping we would have an example of this, but Unity Muse. I don't know. Maybe if we click videos, maybe we can see something cool. Okay, let's check this out. Prototype 2D game level in 20 minutes with Unity Muse. Let's see what this guy did. No, I want to show you guys like okay. Can I zoom? It's pretty low resolution. Let's see if we can. Okay, so it just wrote metal slime. That's what it wrote here. And you can see here it has like, I think this was like a previous texture. It just generated things. And see, it's adding another texture of metal slime on top of the object that it has. And now you have this guy running around and the robot running around, and I'm curious what it does with that. See, it can stop the scene and just plaster that texture, the slimy metal thing, onto the wall. See, and all of a sudden you have a very good texture that kind of fits whatever it was you were doing, and it's naturally better than just rummaging about asset store for free stuff, hoping you'll get something that looks like, I pause it to make a point, that looks like full the aesthetic of your game. This is apparently generated with Muse Sprite, and I think it looks amazing. This is your average medieval to the game icon for your inventory, and I think it looks really cool. Again, very nice art. It's not as violently non-human as DALL-E. It looks a lot more natural. It said something like chicken. Here, the prompt is something like chicken. And Muse just generates chicken, apparently. And we have a T-Rex chicken by the end of this prompting. This is also like, I'm glad that we did that Unity thing first, because you see this is the exact same kind of, the same UI that, that we had. Let's take a look if there's something even more interesting going on. Here, it does again that thing with the wall. The reason this is a ball, by the way, see, this is very educational. The reason why, not just interesting, the reason why this is a ball is because this is how textures are being showcased, are being shown as default shapes into your asset folder. It has an IKEA chair, apparently, that I wonder if I can do something with it. It's interesting. It imported it here, and I'm hoping, see, it puts on the chair, and all of a sudden it gives it texture. And I think that's really cool, because all of a sudden you can have like a very nice looking world with minimal effort. At least the way I see it. We're back to the 2D game. Apparently, like, this whole game showcase was kind of like from one thing to another, proving stuff. You can see, like, it's just prompting. It's on fast forward. I'm not doing anything to it. It's just prompting used to create different objects, and you can create a 2D game. Now, okay, arguably you would say here, yeah, you can draw the shape of kind of what you want it to look like, and to plaster the object that that you are being given here onto your, like, kind of like more similar to this shape. The idea is, like, you could say, yeah, but it defeats the creative process. What's the fun? Like, if we just generate stuff, what's the fun? Well, it's not that fun, but it's definitely a lot better if you have a lot of resources to generate. So yeah, this was pretty much our Unity Muse thingy that I zoomed in too much. That was kind of the point that I was kind of wanting to make about Unity Muse. We have a little more time to kind of summarize. The idea is that Unity simplifies cross-platform app development. Wait, I will do the slideshow thing. I will be brave into the slideshow thing. Okay, so to wrap it up, what we're talking is why Unity, because we've only talked Unity, AI with Unity, mobile with Unity, everything Unity. You probably played games that opened up with that logo from Unity. So why, of all things, why does everyone use Unity? Well, it just simplifies development in general. Cross-platform, might as well add, which means essentially on any operating system, any platform, anything you want to play on. It allows you to code for your laptop, for your phone, for, I guess, whatever, even like a tablet, which I guess is the same thing as the phone in this case. But the idea is, see, you have emulators that kind of mimic the screen. You have, you can play around with any kind of phone, any kind of screen, any kind of whatever, any kind of scene. As you saw when we opened Unity Hub, you could make a project for 3D, for 2D, for mobile 2D, for mobile 3D. This is the simplest thing so far, so to say. It's centralized. You find it in a hub. You find essentially it's a small paradise for app development for any kind of platform. You no longer have to download a specific IDE like Android Studio so that you can make an Android app, or you don't necessarily, if you want to build an app, you don't have to know Java or Kotlin or Swift for iPhones and stuff. Like, you can do it a lot more simple. The code is also kind of minimal, as long as the app is minimal, I guess, because of course you can have a lot of code in complex games built even with Unity, but a lot of the things don't have to be placed with code. Scripts are linked to them via code. You just drag and drop them, and the scripts are minimalistic with just a tiny little function. So that would be like one of the biggest reasons why people are such big fans. I mean, you do have to know a tiny little bit of coding, but it's not that hard. Like, a lot of the things are already being implemented for you, like scaling things, rotating things, translating things. For instance, if you're trying to code a kind of Super Mario game, you can just scale it by calling a scale function by 2. Whenever Mario gets one of those add-ons to make him bigger, you can just scale Mario by 2. And all of a sudden, it becomes so easy to create your own thing. And I guess this is what it is about for this whole like event, this whole contest. You're entrepreneurs, you want to build your own apps, you want to make things, you want to be creators. Well, that's the reason why we're talking Unity, because it is the most simple, most accessible, most easy to understand platform that anybody can use. And it's a great place to get started, because this is what it is about, like getting started to do bigger things. Sure, big things can be done in Unity, but you can migrate towards more complex RDs once you get better at whatever you're doing and you're more interested in, for instance, I don't know, certain things, maybe game-wise, maybe engine-wise that Unity can provide. But the idea is it is a great starting point for any creative mind to be able to express itself in a productive manner. Because that's what being an entrepreneur, I guess, is about, like being productive with your creative streaks and actually making something. As we made today, like a very basic, simple app out of scratch, which in all fairness, it took me longer to be able to convince Unity to work, which would count as a downside than it actually took us to code the thing, plus the explanations of how it works, which again, were very slow paced. So imagine if you were to build an app right now, just how fast you do it. Another pro is it's user-friendly, like we talked, and has many optimization tools to help you build more easily. The AI we just talked about, for instance, of course, you have to pay for it, but nothing that's nothing that's going to be personalized is going to be free, because like it's like paying an artist essentially. But about the user-friendly part, I guess you guys agree after our webinar today that it is very user-friendly. Like you could see in the hierarchy, the objects you had the screen, you had the scene, you had in the inspector part of the project, your attributes and whatnot. It's very easy to manipulate. You can literally, you have hotkeys for grabbing the object and tweaking it and doing stuff to it, like moving it upward, downward, rotating, scaling. It's super flexible. And I guess the moral of the story, as I said here, is just use Unity if you want to create something quick, nice, kind of nice looking. On which note I would like to add, don't let yourselves be fooled by the fact that our app, we could call it app, our mobile app doesn't look great. I know it doesn't look great. It's very rudimentary. You're free to use Canva or whatever to make it look better. Unity allows you. Our time and kind of like purpose of this webinar didn't allow us to make it look a little bit better, because the idea was to learn to manipulate things inside our editor. So I guess, long story short, it can look better. Just use Unity and you'll probably find a way to build whatever app you want to build in a very light, simple manner that doesn't make your brain cells throw themselves out of your brain because of how tiresome it can get sometimes to build something from scratch. Right. Thank you. If you have any questions about anything, any topic you want to touch upon, just anything. Nope. Okay. Again, I will be you will be finding this in a recording as well. I can send you the PPT on the WhatsApp group. And have fun coding and good luck with the competition. I'm gonna say bye once I close this so that it's not weird. Okay, now I'm gonna say bye. Hope you guys had fun. Have fun at the next webinars. Join the next webinars and good luck in the future. Hopefully see you next year, or not you, but whatever. No, that was a mean thing to say. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, hope you had fun. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.